Hey, so today we have a Huawei Color Band A1, which is actually one of the Huawei's wearables. And because I really like wearables and because I really like fitness trackers, I thought I'd give it a spin. So it's tracking steps, your sleep and UV exposure. And it's just a normal tracker. It's really comfortable to wear. It also fits nicely on my small wrist, which I have figured out that not all trackers do. I still have 2 dots left, so if you have even smaller wrists, you can still comfortably put it on. It's super unobtrusive, you can get it in white and black, I think. So yeah, it's super comfortable to wear. The only thing is, it's really hard to get it on by yourself. I've almost dropped it a couple of times, but I didn't. I caught it, but it was almost there, you know? So as far as the activity tracking goes, the step counting, I think it does that job really well. It tracks your steps and it tracks if you're running, and I also think if you're cycling, but I have no idea how the cycling part is measured. I tried walking and running, and when I compared the step counter to my Pebble step counter, they were really similar, really close by, so I call it a statistical error. So yeah, there was really a small margin of difference between them. When it comes to sleep tracking, I can see that you can have a lot more problems there, especially because this doesn't have a heart rate monitor. Therefore, it's mainly tracking your sleep by the amount of movement you give him. So for example, I went to bed at 11 o'clock and I was reading a book for about half an hour to an hour before I actually went to sleep. And then I slept for the whole night. So at around 6 o'clock, the cat pushed the vase off the table and it made a lot of noise, a lot of broken glass everywhere, and I did wake up and I got up and I cleaned all the glass and everything so she wouldn't be harmed in any way, and I went back to sleep for an hour. But my sleep tracker just said that I had a light amount of sleep in that time. But that really wasn't the case. I got up, I cleaned the glass, and I got back to bed, so I think that's a pretty horrible way to wake up. In that regard, I think that when it comes to sleep tracking, that is a problem with all tracking devices that don't have a heart rate monitor. They're just not going to give you an accurate example of your sleep, and they might be saying that you're sleeping for 7-8 hours, but it might just be that you were watching Netflix for the last 2 hours before you went to bed and he thought that that was you actually sleeping, but it was not. If you really do need to track your sleep for any kind of purposes, I would just suggest you do it analog. Like, before you go to bed, have a notepad beside your bed and just write down, I went to bed at this time, I woke up at 7 o'clock, and I say my sleep was pretty good with some light cat interruptions in between. I think that will be a more accurate description of your sleeping habits and your sleeping patterns than just having an activity tracker that doesn't have a heart rate monitor. One thing I found really interesting was the UV exposure measuring meter thingy inside this. So you just point the tracker towards the sun and click test in the app, and it takes 5 seconds and it tells you how strong the UV light actually is. And mostly it will just, if it's really low, it will just suggest you to wear SPF 15 sunscreen, like they always do. This is something really Asian. I can see the Asian influences here, and the fear of the sun and fear of becoming old and having dark skin. So I'm not really compliant with the wearing SPF all day, even though most of my creams do have it. So it gives you an example of how strong the sun actually is. So there was a moment when I thought that the sun isn't particularly strong. For example, it's beginning of March in Slovenia, which is in the Central Europe region. I don't consider that sun strong. It's still pretty cold, around below 10 degrees Celsius. And the app was telling me that the UV is quite high or moderately high, and that I should use an SPF 30 and maybe a hat. And I was like, okay, you're just overreacting, okay? I can finally have some sun. Can I just please sunbathe in this beautiful light that has finally shown up after the whole winter time and no light? So yeah, I can see it being useful. I mean, it's quite amazing to have a UV meter inside a watch. So the activity tracker doesn't show time, it's just a plain simple activity tracker So it just has a tiny LED light right here that's used when it's pairing and when it's charging. And while we are at the subject of charging, I think the battery lasts forever. I mean, I've had it, worn it for over a week, day and night, and there was so little battery change that I don't even know when do you charge it. It lost about 3 to 5% per day. And out of 100%, there's a lot and a lot and a lot of days that this thing is going to go without charging. So if you're just looking for an activity tracker that doesn't even show you the time, that doesn't show you anything, it's just there to do some activity tracking, as the name suggests, this is quite a cute accessory actually. It looks nice. It's not overdone. It's quite uberly. It's not too uberly minimalistic. It has some pattern on it. So it's matte black. I really like it. It's really nice. I have grown fond of it.